Hi there, I'm Shay Stevens. I'm an education consultant from Smart Technologies, and I'm very excited to welcome you to Lumio Palooza 2025. I hope you are having an awesome time and really enjoying yourself so far. I'm super excited. This is my second Lumio Palooza, so I'm very happy to be back and learn alongside you folks. I'm representing all of Canada at Smart, and I am coming to you from Ontario, Canada, a couple hours north of Toronto. So let us know where you're joining from in the chat. I noticed we do have a few fellow Ontarians and some other Canadians here. Who else do we have? Delaware, New Jersey, Quebec. Awesome. Long Island, New York. Very cool. And I'm already seeing a few duplicate names for some of the sessions that I was in this morning. So thanks to those who are doing a whole day Lumio Palooza time. That's amazing. So yeah, that's awesome. If you want to share, please let us know something that you're looking forward to, maybe something you've enjoyed so far, something that's really resonated with you so far. We're so excited to see so many educators from around the world in this event. Okay, Colombia, Texas, awesome. So I'm really excited to share a presenter with you today, but first I just want to make sure that you know the hashtags for today. So those are going to pop up in the chat for you. And keep an eye on the chat as we go. You will be receiving links throughout the session, including the survey link for your certificate at the end. So just keep an eye on that. Also, make sure that you're subscribed and following the Smart Tech and Lumio YouTube channels, as well as our socials. If you'd like to connect with me, you can go follow me on Instagram at Inside Smart with Shay, and I'd be happy to follow you back, interact there. That would be great. Please feel free to ask any questions throughout the session in the chat. We will make sure to answer those for you between me and Rachel. And this session is being recorded, so keep that in mind. You will receive all recordings via email early next week. So if there was something that you missed, we'll get it to you and you can rewatch it, okay? And again, those social hashtags are going to be hashtag LumioPalooza or hashtag GoLumio. If you want to, capture a little screenshot of the session and post it, we'd love to see that. So now it's time for our presenter. Hey, Rachel, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you? Are you excited for Lumio Palooza? What are you most excited for today?
It's hard to decide reading through all of the session profiles. They're all so interesting, and I just can't wait to rewatch the ones I can't make, but attend as many as I can.
That's amazing. Me too. It's always nice to be able to go back and watch those recordings, right? Can you remind me, how many Lumio Paloozas have you been to or participated in? Have you ever delivered before?
So this is my first Lumio Palooza. I did a webinar in January, and I presented live at different conferences, but this is my first Lumio Palooza, and I'm so excited.
Awesome. I actually had the pleasure of meeting Rachel in person and also seeing her present live a couple years ago in Toronto, and it was amazing. So I know we're going to learn so much. She's a special education specialist and a diagnostics kindergarten teacher from the Toronto area. So we're really lucky to have her. And I'm just going to turn it over to you to present. I'll be here if you need anything. And without further ado, let's get started.
Sounds fantastic. Thank you so much. So my name is Rachel Gautreau. I have a background in child studies and education. My favorite things to do are collaborating with multidisciplinary teams and doing anything spec ed and ed tech related. I am also a digital lead learner with the TDSB, so anything techie is definitely something I enjoy. And I really enjoyed becoming a Lumio ambassador, and I look forward to doing the extended courses they have for the Lumio educators. So this session, our highlights are going to be, we're going to look at some interactive activities that Lumio has, learning from my students who are minimally verbal or who are emergent communicators that are just learning to express themselves in a variety of ways. And we're also going to take a look at some practical strategies for using Lumio's accessibility features. There are so many and some great new features. So we're going to look at some different tools. We're going to look at the core principles for universal design for learning, as well as some strategies to ensure that we're engaging all learners and meeting them where they're at. we're going to look at amplifying student voice, which is my favorite thing to talk about, especially when they haven't discovered their voices yet. So we're going to look at some tools that you can use for expression and communication, whether they are newcomers to Canada and they are multilingual learners, or whether they are just starting to communicate using AAC or with sounds or words or pictures. And we're going to look at enhancing digital fluency and looking at ways that we can use Lumio tools. So some key session terms, in case you're new to special education terminology or things that all relate to spec ed. Nonverbal, or I like to say minimally verbal, it just means that they might be an emergent communicator, not yet using words, but they might communicate through many other ways. We might communicate with our facial expressions. We might communicate through gestures, sounds, expressions, devices. We really like to think of not silent, not less, just developing. And for AAC, that stands for Augmentative Alternative Communication. It's a voice, not a last resort. So we really encourage that each student is heard and that they have their device with them if they have that assigned. We also are going to be exploring some visual schedules. And what that means is it's a roadmap for the day for students who require that understanding of what's going to happen next, a highly structured routine. We can use visuals in Lumio, and they even have things like their stoplight feature and different visuals already embedded into the tools. So it really keeps a safe environment feeling for students who need that inclusive learning experience. And stimming, it's self-stimulatory behavior. And when you think about it, we all stim in some way. It might be twirling our hair, it might be picking at our skin, it might just be clearing our throat. So it's not really something to scare if you see a student stimming, it's just them regulating their body. And sensory overload. This is something I've learned a lot about from the OTs at our school and in diagnostic kindergarten. Too much input. It could be light, it could be noise, it could be a lot of things happening all at once. And students might have a reaction to that sensory overload. And if you're always trying to be normal, you'll never know how amazing you can be. And that's Maya Angelou. So I'm going to start with a little shout out. And I'd love to know from everyone, what are some digital tools that you use to support student voice and choice currently in the programs that you're doing, in the roles that you are? What are some ways that you support voice and choice for students? So our class code is 173032 if you are an auditory learner, and there is also a QR code that you can scan, and that will bring you to this live activity. And just to show you, if you have never used Lumio before, if you're new to Lumio, this little widget at the side means that you can actually add pictures. I think I did this one, it was either pictures or words. So some examples of maybe digital tools that you use, you might be using Lumio already. You might be using BoardMaker. You might be using visual symbols. You might be using AAC. There are so many different ways that you can support student voice, even when they are not yet verbally communicating. So I would love to know if there's anything that you're using. Maybe you're using Book Creator or Immersive Reader. Maybe you're using visuals that you've had in your classroom, a first then, or activity choices for students to choose visuals from. I would love to know if there are any strategies that anyone is using. And I see everyone is doing fantastic. I look forward to seeing what others are using. I always learn so much from everyone who is participating or sharing ideas and strategies that they're currently using. Some things that I find quite effective in my own practice for encouraging student voice and choice is applying for AAC devices as soon as we know if that's something that a student might trial. We try to incorporate it so that they start the process of having that voice, having that way to communicate until they develop that expressive language. Okay, and we have limited time for this activity. So if you have any items to share, I would love to know what tools you're using. And I may have to keep going because I just want to make sure that I can do some of the other activities that we have. I see a number are joining. That's fantastic. Okay, I may have to move on, but I can come back to this activity as well. Oh, I see. Fantastic. Yay. Okay. Oh, this is amazing.
Rachel, we also do have some awesome ones on the chat. People mentioned Immersive Reader. A couple people mentioned Seesaw, Lumio, Book Creator, as you said. So we do have a few there.
Fantastic. Oh, this is so exciting. Okay. Oh, I see it now. Sorry, I didn't see the other chat. Fantastic. Hello. Oh, we have some from Ontario, some from Florida. Wow, so many from so many different places. I think that's what's so exciting about Lumio Palooza is everyone is all over the world. Absolutely, yes. And oh, fantastic. Yep. Oh, so just an image. I'm so sorry. So next time I will put words. I do love my visuals. So if you are using words or visuals, this is fantastic. Thank you for sharing. I can see some great visuals here and some words paired with visuals. Okay, so, and I know some may not have visuals on their device. So I'm going to keep going just to make sure that I continue with the flow. So today's session will be all about amplifying student voice with Lumio's AT tools. And AT is just a short way to say assistive technology for those of you that are using it already, and ensuring that all students experience belonging, autonomy, and expression. So some features that enhance student IEP goals. So I write a lot of IEPs. This year I'm going from 8 to 10. And a lot of times when my students come in, they don't have an IEP yet. So it's this big discovery. I have 30 days to get to know these students, and they are the most interesting because I love to observe and I love to find out what works for them. But I really have to observe all of the ways that they communicate. And I love to use different strategies to find out what works for different students. So with Lumio, they have instructional audio. You can record to a page or attach recorded audio to an object or a visual, which is really helpful for my students that are blind, low vision, or have cortical vision impairment. So they would need that auditory support, or for my students that just need the instructions again, or maybe they're accessing it from home and they just need some guidance on that page. And there's also image annotation for visual thinkers. So if you are in the Lumio program, you can actually attach some image annotation for that visual. And there's also accessible Lumio visuals and symbols. And I really enjoy having the opportunity to give my students lots of choice throughout the day. And I'll show you some examples of that in some of the activities we do today. I also love the drawing tools. A lot of my students love the highlighters, but they also love the markers. It helps them develop their fine motor skills, but also in DK, a picture created in Lumio is worth more than 1,000 words, especially if they don't have that expressive language yet. So there's also collaborative Lumio workspaces, which is fantastic if your students might be experiencing illnesses quite a bit, or maybe the weather here in Canada sometimes prevents some students in different parts of Ontario from getting to school. So those collaborative workspaces and being able to use Lumio on any device at any time is so fantastic, and definitely ensures all students are not left behind. So there are so many ways to enhance digital fluency with Lumio and UDL. And some of you mentioned Immersive Reader. It's fantastic. I really was amazed by the board maker symbols when I started using Immersive Reader. And for my students that are used to TD Snap, they were used to those visuals, so it was very familiar. And it was so much more accessible than trying to find something else or go into board maker. Having it all right in Lumio was so helpful. So some things that we can think about when students feel that their voice or their preferred communication method, whether that's visuals, AAC, words, or sounds, when they feel that they're heard and included, it really enhances student engagement. So we start with the trust and respect between students and staff. We just get to know our students in September, where it might take all year to really get to know them and understand where they're coming from and how to support them. That's where we start. That relationship is so important. And then they start to experience enhanced self-esteem and autonomy. They start to see their sense of belonging. They start to see themselves represented around the classroom. They start to see ways that they can share their voice and ideas, and they feel successful. And that leads to increased academic and IEP goal achievement once we start realizing where their areas of support are and what their strengths and interests are, we can really start to use Lumio and other assistive tools to create that strong sense of agency. And their voice and ideas, they matter, showing students that that belonging and inclusion happens at a whole school level. That's something our whole school is really trying to work on. Not just say, but we're really trying to create an atmosphere where we're regularly integrating with the rest of the school. We're using Lumio in a variety of spaces on any device, which is really helpful. And building comfort with technology, just getting students to be comfortable with the software and using the translation tools for students that are new to Canada and may not have that language or understand what we are saying. These accessibility features ensure that all students can access our content. It's digital fluency is not just about making sure that each student is heard, but it's making sure that they can access the learning in a way that works for them. So we're really trying to personalize learning. So some features that make learning accessible to all: Immersive Reader, some mentioned, individual game-based activities. I happen to be a big fan of the open dyslexic font, as my daughter actually has dyslexia, and I'm starting to learn all about this. There is so much to learn, but having that font accessible in there really helps with that flow if students are just beginning to read. And individual handouts, I'll be using a few of those today, and you'll see some examples of instructional audio in the slides. And I definitely appreciate the ad-free videos, because a lot of my students will really want to see certain videos that they see, but if you just see that one video, it's very helpful for the flow of the day. And making sure that we increase accessibility, we can do this by providing multiple means of engagement, giving students a lot of different ways to share their thinking and show what they know and understand and what they like, and building mastery with a gradual release of responsibility. So I'm going to show you some examples. I want to start with a little activity. I'm going to skip ahead for a minute because I want to try this activity, and then I'm going to come back to some of those activities. So because it's summer, I created this little I am example, and you are going to get a chance to try it. And it's basically, for my students at the beginning of the year, I try to have ways in Lumio that they can represent themselves. Usually with my students, I start with pictures or picture symbols, and they can choose the things that they identify with. Because as they start kindergarten, their identity is everything. It matters so much to them to feel that they have a place there. And some students have multiple identities, whether it's their lived experiences, their backgrounds, their abilities and skills. So we're going to get a chance to try this out. And so some examples of mine: I have ADHD, but I was late diagnosed, so I'm still learning a lot about that. I love anything Smart Lumio or EdTech related. I also love being outdoors, so I'm so glad it's warmer weather here, and I get a chance to do that. And music is life. So there's a lot of things that you can do here. Oh, I think I just have to go ahead, maybe 2 more. There you go. So you're going to get a chance to do this, and you can start choosing some of the words that maybe you identify with. I try to think of a lot of different words to use. So I created a lot of these. There are a lot. You can choose the ones that represent you. And I tried to think of a lot of different ones some I had to create. So the idea is you can choose the words that you identify with, or the things that you really kind of want to think about. And the reason I do this at the beginning of the year is a lot of my students don't have the words to express themselves yet, or maybe they're still discovering their identities, but this gives them a chance to click and drag. Most of them are able to do that. And the ones that aren't, I try to figure out what supports that they still need. But this is one of those activities that you can think of to encourage your students and have that positive voice for them. And then what I do is I either screenshot it or I try to print it out and have that be the first thing that goes up on the bulletin board, so each student has their identity or has something that they've created that they can identify within our program. So some of these, you may not relate to all of them, but you can choose the ones that work for you. And if anyone would like to share those, let me know by clicking the little green dot in the upper right-hand corner, I believe, unless it's changed. And I will check and see if anyone would like to share those when they have put theirs together. Let me know by clicking done. and let me know if it's okay if I share. I love incorporating the rainbow infinity symbol, as a lot of my students are neurospicy like me, but in different ways because each one is so unique. So there are so many ways that you can share your identity with your students. You can do it together with them. And another thing you can do is add audio to certain words. If it's a new word, or you can, first, for my students, I'd probably use visual symbols because they're not reading yet. But if you're doing older grades, it's kind of fun. And I will share all of these resources that I've created at the end as well. So let me know if you, fantastic. Okay, I see some that I have finished. Marissa, is it all right if I share yours? Just gonna check the chat as well. So I see the green symbol. Fantastic, okay. Fantastic. Awesome. So Marissa's a leader, creative, helpful. I can say no. See, I'm still working on that. That's fantastic. I'm confident and kind. Thank you so much, Marissa. I had to do the beach because I just find I recharge the best at the beach. And maybe you're in somewhere that doesn't have a beach, but definitely a pretty calming place. Okay, and I'm going to double check to see if I can share anyone else's. Can I share? Noelle, can I share yours? Or Devin? Oh, it's not on student facing. Okay. But I will share all of these resources afterwards. Okay, I'm just checking the chat to see if it's all right if I share. Fantastic. Okay. And I'll just share one more and then we'll keep going. Oh, fantastic. Active. I had fun making that one. And growth mindset and cool. I'm doing my best. I love saying that to my kids. I'm just saying I'm doing my best these days. Adventurous, strong. The power is within me. Oh, this gives me so many ideas for more that I get to go. Thank you, Noelle. Okay, and there's so many more. If you want, before we go to the next page, I'll let you, if you want to screenshot off a nice screenshot, if I can't take it with me. Okay, so I will share this resource with you afterwards as well so that you have it. I am just going to go to a little point I wanted to share. And I have the video to show you with my class as well. So I'm sorry to go ahead. I will save that. And if anyone wants a screenshot of there, if I can always screenshot that and send that out as well. There are 3 ways to transform learning with Lumio, UDL, and AAC. And in my class, we like to increase student accessibility using AAC visuals. So I will put those into Lumio and they can use circles. I will create a circle shape and then clear the inside. And they can choose different things if they're not yet communicating. We do a lot of games, and I have a game that I've created for us to play. Very simple, but very fun. And I tried out the AI assist new feature, which is really fun. And that ignites student engagement and empowers their voice and choice with the game-based learning. And to check their understanding, I really appreciate the assessments that are built into it. And using audio cues really helps my students understand what they're being asked to do. And they can replay it. They often prefer that audio recording to my actual voice. Just kind of funny. So for some examples of ways that I use Lumio, we explored our 5 senses, which we actually learned this year. There are 8 senses and these sensory overloads. And I will go more into that in another session, but we really learned about sensory overload and this senses that they like, and also exploring students' likes and dislikes, and trying to look at eating and things like that, because that seemed like something that families were really interested in working on, is how their child would only choose a few things. So we really explored our tastes and things like that. And I'm just going to go ahead to one way that I provide voice and choice for my students. And excuse my singing, I did record this. My voice is a little scratchy, but I do love, we call it DK karaoke. So I'm going to show you an example of how I provide students voice and choice throughout the day. This could be a story, this could be, and I'll show you the example of the audio. Are you ready for our DK karaoke? It's time for you to make a choice. Which song would you like to sing? Number 1, Down by the Bay, or number 2, Wheels on the Bus? You choose. Okay, so one of the examples that I did here is I usually do, like when I did virtual, I did 1 or 2 just to show students that they weren't recognizing numbers yet, I used finger symbols, but I also recorded specific audio and attached. I choose number 1, down by the bay. This audio, so let me know if you can still hear me. I just switched my audio, so I'm hoping everyone can still hear me.
Yeah, we can still hear you. That's actually better. Perfect.
Oh, good. Okay, I was trying the headphones thing. So this is an example of how we make a choice. And so if my students had chosen down by the bay, well, then we would choose down by the bay. And I'm just going to apologize for my singing here because I just recorded this. I have some instructions that I've posted on the page. Great choice. Down by the bay. So then they would choose either the title or they would get ready to sing Down by the Bay. And then I have most of the song here. Down by the bay, where the watermelons grow. I do a lot of singing. Back to my home, I dare not go, for if I do, my mother would say. And this is where I paused it because I want students to encourage their choice. Any chance I get, I try to encourage their choice where they have to choose something. So I have 2 choices, whale with a polka dot tail or moose kissing a goose. So they would have to choose. I choose. And we really try to encourage our core words. And we usually start with I want to try to get students to express something, a want or a need. A whale with a polka dot tail. So they would choose that, and that is one example of how I incorporate music and choice in DK. The other way that I use visuals in our program is I use visual schedules, and I'm sure a lot of you use visual schedules throughout the year to incorporate routine, develop student self-regulation and executive functioning skills, and provide a very predictable structure. It's really hard for a lot of students that are exceptional learners to manage change or any alteration to the schedule, especially if it's a fire drill or an assembly. So, or even a holiday, we really try to prepare students for any kind of upcoming holidays or routines, especially summer break. We do a lot of preparation if they are moving schools, but we really try to incorporate a lot of visuals throughout the day. And one thing that I learned from our OT and speech language is that visuals foster student independence, and it also prepares them for really important routines. And I've also recorded some audio here. I don't have something I need. This is one that we use with our students a lot. Sometimes they're not able to tell us something that they need. It could be an illness. It could be something that they don't have, maybe a water bottle. Sometimes students will take somebody else's water bottle. But it's really important to give students and empower them with that voice so they can express themselves when they don't have the words. And also using images that are familiar to students. Maybe you're taking pictures of their snack or the toys you have in your classroom. That helps students because they are familiar with those people or the routines, and keep the text very short and clear as they aren't reading yet, some of them. And so having this visual with that core word will increase their opportunity to receive that. And using mini portable visuals, maybe you're using that during transitions, is really helpful. Here's an example of the visual schedule that we use in the afternoon. So I always keep it fairly the same, and I've even incorporated a little pocket chart here. I've just layered it so that it's behind it, but this is an example of how we use our visuals, and I'm working on increasing students' independence so they can plan out if there's anything changes or if they want to do something. I just have them all here, and I've locked some things so that they don't change, but you can see it would usually remain the same unless we do integrate with the rest of the kindergarten programs at our school. So we do a lot of integration throughout the day. That's the only time it might change. So there's an example, and I would put some fun activities. Here is our zones of regulation check-in. So I'm hoping everyone can edit. It says they can, and this is a whole class whiteboard. So here's our audio for this page. How are you feeling today? Let's do our zones of regulation check-in. What zone are you in? Are you in the blue zone? Are you feeling sad? You can choose any visual that works for you. They're all infinitely cloned. Are you in the green zone? Are you feeling happy, calm, and ready to learn? Are you in the yellow zone? Are you feeling excited, frustrated, shy, or silly? Or are you in the red zone? Are you feeling mad, scared, or
This one's a
angry?
little longer just because I wanted to go
Let
through
us
the
know
zones
by
in case.
moving one of the visual icons to the place that you feel.
And I actually have a few students that would choose the silly one every time, or some of them that would start expressing their emotions and they were clearly in the red zone and they were able to express that using different visuals. Some were in sign language, so that was really helpful for some students. And I see Crystal's question, are the visual schedules uploaded by the teacher? So I created a lot of these visuals using BoardMaker symbols, and then I had to crop them and then put them in, but I'm also using the emojis from Lumio. So these are all the emojis in the emoji section, and you'll see them here. There are a variety of reactions, which are really helpful, and I love the hand gestures as well. So if somebody was doing this one, or they had different symbols that they wanted, I love the stoplight signals as well, but there's also little characters that you can use. But a lot of the features I've actually uploaded. Sorry, that was my timer. And you can use different visuals if you have access to BoardMaker. You can use those and incorporate those by uploading them as a JPEG or a PNG. But I will share all the resources that I've created as well in a separate Padlet, Wakelet link. Here's an example of our weather schedule, which I know it says winter. Don't worry, it's not. I'm just using one that I had already created. So students would, they're all different audios that have explained what it is, and they would choose the weather after we do a weather song. And then there is there, I can match the seasons. So these are actually BoardMaker visuals, and I'll show you the example. So for some students, this was quite hard. A lot of them want to put the visual over the visual. So I've learned that even if I color code it, or even if I try to make it really clear, a lot of them just want to put the visual over the visual. So some of them I've modified with the word and without the word just to see where students are at. But this is an example of how you can work into their IEP goals into your daily routines. And I know I'm just about out of time, but I will share it. Right. So, and I'm just checking the chat. That's just one example. I'm just going to go towards the end just to show you some examples. I really want to share with you some ways that I've used Lumio with my students. We do a lot of recipes and things like that. So I really love the instructional audio for using that for a recipe. They can use step 1, step 2, and it's really clear. And inclusion isn't just inviting someone to sit at your table, it's believing they belong there. If there's one thing that I've learned in DK, always presume competence and that students have this amazing unlocked potential, and just getting to know them, they will surprise you in so many ways. So always presume that they're capable, and using different features, like if you know that they have low vision. I'm getting a student in the fall who has low vision, so I've started using a dark background with very light letters and really looking at the visuals and what would work for her in terms of how she would access the curriculum in a different way. This is so different than most of my students. So here's an example of how I differentiated it. You've got the pattern clothing. They're different. I would check and see if students are able to match it. If not, I might copy it and make another copy of it. So if I were going to see if my students could match, some of them would need the exact picture to match. Some of them I want to see if they're able to match it with a real life picture, which is a bit trickier. And that's why I have two different examples here. So this is an example, and I'll share this. I created that with some CVI resources. I know I'm almost out of time, so I just want to make sure that I'm able to share a really exciting success story, but I'm not sure. The video wasn't on YouTube, so I couldn't upload it into here. So I'm just going to try to see if I can share it with you. And I'm going to click on the link. There is more, but I will share all of this with you as well. So let me see if I can share this success story. Was so exciting. The student was quite, I'm going to see if I can share it on here. Let's see. Oh, I think I need to go and share my screen here. Oh, no. I'm going to share my screen. I know I stopped sharing for a minute. I'm going to try sharing this one. I'm going to try that one again. It's a very, very short one. So we were using core words, and he was working on the word. This was the first time he said the word.
Your turn. JJ's turn. Open. Open. Good job.
It was so exciting, and I wanted to share that because those success stories make us jump up and down with excitement, and I'm sure you have the same. When you are engaging diverse learners, there are so many strategies you can use in Lumio, and they really engage students. So I will go.
That was such an awesome success story, Rachel. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was really awesome. I loved everything about your presentation. The karaoke game was so exciting. You talking about predictable schedules and all that sort of stuff, using image annotation, accessible visuals, all that. Thank you so much for leading that. Just to the attendees, the survey link is in the chat. And one more huge thank you to Rachel for leading this session today. We had such a good time.
Thank you to everyone coming.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. And if you're in the chat still, please stay tuned because we have so many more sessions that are so wonderful that are happening the rest of today as well as tomorrow. So if you haven't registered for those, the link will be in the chat. You can also just Google Lumio Palooza 2025 and register for your favorite session. Once again, we'll see you very soon, and thanks so much for joining us here today.